Very good, friends. Okay, we're all set, right? Okay. Doc South here with yet another episode of The City Garden. This one is part five, and it actually is part five. Yes, 4B is actually 4 is 3, and 4B is 4. This now correctly labeled 5. Okay. We got one more after this, one more episode. Okay, yeah, so you know. I hope you're enjoying this. Yes, it's again. I think as I get a chance, I'm going to write tales of my time in the South, and eventually put them into a compilation. This will definitely be in that book. This is all about a trip I actually made to a beautiful city waste treatment plant. Yeah, yeah, back in the day. And it is actually based on somewhat factual and exaggerated. Yes. Okay. They, no, the real quick, I think, no, I'll explain that later. Another time. Another time. Actually, it might make a good story on its own. Okay, anyway, The City Garden, Part 5. It'd be a good intro for the series here. Yes. Okay, anyway, The City Garden, Part 5. The sludge pit yard really didn't have massive pits in it, as near as I could see. Pardon my graphic description, but the yard was more crisscrossed with what looked to be more like 500-foot long latrine slits. Yeah, I'd seen this type of thing in old tin types of Civil War encampments. These slits would be out in the field, and soldiers would go there when nature called. It wasn't very private, of course, but what the heck? Any port in a storm, I guess. I mean, would you want the men to be using the parade grounds, huh? Or the spaces between the tents? Yeah, well, when the slits were fairly full, I guess they'd throw the dirt from digging the next trench into the old trench, and which, pardon the pun, had just paid the ultimate sacrifice. So you'd see mounded trenches, trenches in service, and finally trenches waiting for their chance to serve. Well, that's what this area appeared to be, only the trenches were pretty darn long. Like I said, they were running at least 500 feet or so. I'm guessing they were around 4 or 5 feet deep and about 5 feet across. Some were being filled with dried sludge, others were waiting for their moment to come. Still others were mounted high with what used to be dried sludge. Overhead water pipes sprayed plain water on those piles, and, well, leafy vegetation grew out of the side facing me, and thick stalks then curled over the top of the mound and disappeared out of sight on the other side of the mound. Yeah. From my vantage point, the vines all grew out of the ground and disappeared over the hill to the side away from me. I also saw that some mounds were bare on the side facing me. I guessed correctly that straight-stalked plants lived on the far side of the long hills. John smiled at my keen observation, and he kind of dug my confused looks, wondering what the heck was up. We started heading for the center row. My hat had almost blown off my head back when we were riding around in the golf cart. His little pickup, John's little pickup truck. So I had taken it off my head and sat on it, to keep it in place. I'd forgotten to put it back on when we climbed out of the golf cart. The Carolina sun, of course, as usual, was set on broil. Or incinerate. Oven clean, be more like it. Yeah. This part of the state was like living on a griddle. I had to get my hat back on, or else people would start calling me old prune noggin. I told John to wait up and turned around heading for the cart. I stopped dead in my tracks. I hadn't really noticed it before, but there was this giant boulder, right in front of the Jeep. When we had first driven into the area, I had noticed this steam shovel working on the other side of the long mound near where we had parked. It appeared to be tasked with the chore of removing a small tree. Maybe it was just an old nothing-much tree that had the bad luck of being in the way of progress. I couldn't tell you what kind of tree it was. It was just a tree. Maybe it was, I don't know, around 20 feet high, something like that. Yeah. That's about all I could tell you. The leaves looked healthy enough, I guess. What was left of the tree kind of drooped and draped itself over the long hill. Boulders about the size of a Volkswagen were piled up around the cart now. I had noticed them before, but then I realized that the steam shovel seemed to be tasked with the chore of getting those boulders out of the ground. That's evidently what it had been up to. Work was going on at a brisk pace. It appeared that there was one last boulder to go. The steam shovel, groaned and belched smoke as it used all its might to lift that deepest down boulder and bring it out into the light. Loose dirt fell from the rock as it was lifted to my side of the mound. I noticed a sly grin on the machine operator's bearded face. He looked like the cat who had swallowed the bacon as he dropped the boulder gently at my feet. Funny, but the boulder smelled funny. It had a moist smell to it. I thought how I'd smelled that smell before, but never in a sewage treatment plant. This was more like a smell from back when I was a kid playing in Mom's kitchen. It was a smell sort of like that smell that used to emanate from that large drawer next to the door under the sink. I hollered to both John and the shovel operator as I turned my head from side to side, trying to face both guys at once. Hey, what kind of boulder is this thing? It smells like a potato. It's got to weigh at least a ton. That's not a potato, right? John was the first of the two who could talk. From laughing, yeah. The shovel operator was turning blue with laughter and beside himself with glee, absolutely tickled. John reached into his pocket and whipped out a tiny kitchen potato peeler. As he handed it to me, he spoke. He said, "Doc, we got KP duty. If you want some really good home fries, you better start peeling. I'll go get a chainsaw for slicing this spud." Picture a mouse living under your sink, walking up to one of the last spuds in a potato bin. The potato would seem to be 3 or 4 times his measly size and weight. It would also last as a meal for his brood for darn near a month or so. The poor little guy would scratch his back on its side and maybe also try to give it a bit of a shove with his snoot just to see who could budge it. I kind of did the same thing as I tried to budge the spud by putting my back and legs into it. I had the same luck as the poor little mouse. That was one heavy spud. Man, I pictured myself with my tongue hanging out as I dabbed ketchup on a French fry the size of a 2x4. Suddenly a green softball bounced off the potato. That green ball had come out of nowhere, bouncing off the potato and rolling under John's carryall. Some workers in the nearby garden parking lot waved and hollered for me to throw their ball back. I waved back and crawled as best I could to reach under the wagon. It was easy enough to get their ball. I grabbed it and stood up ready to throw my best pitch and get the ball back into the game, but found myself staring at and hefting the game ball instead. Darned if that ball wasn't a pea. Yeah, all by itself it would have made at least a quart of pea soup. Wilder than that, I saw that the green bats the home team were using were string beans. Really huge string beans. Well, we'll leave it at that for now, friends. We got the thrilling conclusion coming up tomorrow. Again, the city garden, that was part 5. Hope you're enjoying. See you later. Bye now.